Remember that compilation video I made like a week ago? I'm pretty impressed that everything I talked about in that video aged poorly. From the tweet I was working on, for an example, with Duxen, Methel's entire channel getting nuked middle of editing, Benson dancing, traumatizing me even harder than I've ever seen before, just making me regret all my decisions. Even the small YouTuber I shout out. Seems like the only thing that hasn't really aged poorly is PX Ragon and Miss Circle's little goofy news. Oh wait, no, that aged terribly too now because Katie's finally at her limit. She's deleted it, and as many of you have seen, I've uploaded an archive of it on my channel. Just, good to publicly preserve all artistic works, even if it is taken down in part to diminish the fandom. I don't think I'm at too much of a risk of reigniting it single-handedly. I mean, my channel's pretty algorithmically killed. However, with that being said, I think it's very important to discuss moving forward because that has been my main breadwinner for the entire channel, basically. Like, all of my most viewed videos have been either the Reddit clips, Has Been Hotel, or fundamental paper education. Just, it's been what it is. I never really wanted to be a fundamental paper education channel, but like it's funny because like now I'm starting to appreciate it way more than I used to. Now I'm like really seeing how the world building was genuinely good and how I understand why people were immersed with characters they saw like 10 seconds of. Now I'm understanding why there's so many people who want to see more of it, how there's a lot of lore of world building conveyed pretty impressively with so many characters. You can kind of tell who's who, and it is really disheartening to see even the alternate universes, which I usually hate. They the quality on the internet's getting so ridiculously good that people are just straight up copying the style perfectly, and it looks as good as the original, which is also a fan work of another fan work, because I am never going to get over how insane this rabbit hole is. But another thing kind of disheartening about like the deletion or the unlisting of the video in question is that if you want to combat these farms, these content farms, you did a bad job. I'm sorry. I don't want to be the jerk, but I have to be a little honest because people, they still see this recommended, they still see these characters everywhere. So what do? They look it up. And what do they find? They don't find the original anymore, they just find garbage. So you kind of gave them the win, which is really unfortunate. Now, like, we only see content farms. I don't think you should ever really do that if you're worried about content farms, like corrupting your brand. And I also understand she was basically just doing this for fun. She wasn't expecting this entire community. She wasn't expecting almost all of her videos to go viral. And then this one becomes apparently the third most viewed indie animated project on YouTube, which is, first of all, crazy. Second of all, progressive, because hey, the top three, all women led. Okay, I'm just saying, we ain't in the dark ages anymore, so I mean, I'm just saying, let's not pull any patriarchy card. I think that's kind of cool though. But with that being said, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do? My only cash cow has been defeated. I'm just kidding, partially. Obviously, that has been not only the topic that's garnered me the most views, but it's the one I can talk about the most. For example, with the Reddit clips, there's so little about that, I can't make any more videos on it really. I made an entire 8-minute long video off of like 5 seconds of footage on its Instagram page, and it wasn't even finished. Okay, that's how desperate I was over that project. Meanwhile, fundamental paper education, that has a ton of stuff, that has a ton of content. I'm sorry that the mic keeps bouncing on my jacket. LOL. Lots of love. But seriously, that is a good question. What do? I think I'm still going to talk about it. I mean, people are thinking it's either disrespectful for the creator to continue like discussing or embracing it, but I personally don't think I am really doing that. I'm not just saying that due to, obvious biases of me want to do it, so me do cognitive dissonance. No, that's not it. So I do admit my original video had a lot of it had a lot of humor that I don't think she likes in hindsight, and I kind of apologize for that. Even at the time, like, I was planning on scrapping some of the jokes, I forgot to. Completely my fault. But I mean, the video was still entertaining regardless. On top of that, the follow-up video, though, was much more tame. Also did have a thumbnail that kind of did look like content slop farm crap. But, that one also got a lot of views, so I think I can definitely rein in some of just the general tastelessness. I've been a little tasteless with some of my humor. I can rein that in. But I also think that the story overall, just the animation, I haven't actually talked about the animation yet. I've just talked about the community, and then the community's response to my video about the community, which wasn't even about the community in hindsight. Apparently, there's an entire insane group of baldy children who I guess are obsessed with it and are trying to harass her into submission, which may or may not have worked. And also the YouTube troll police. I mean, I don't want to feed the trolls, but they are like everywhere. So it is kind of tough to pretend they don't exist, especially when they can mass report crap. But I mean, I'm not going to let them bother me. I think I think overall they're kind of funny as long as you don't click on any suspicious links, just FYI. And I do think that the community had lots of problems. One thing was just that everyone in it is so goddamn young, and it's really disheartening because it's really it's not only is it really cool, but obviously the content, as I discussed in the initial video, it's not appropriate for kids, really. Like, I mean, the violence and gore is really intense, and the expressions, they kind of make my gut wrench a little bit. Like, I can handle the gore, but like seeing a kid just look like they're in absolute agony as they're being eaten, is actually pretty messed up. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. And I think I'm going to keep up the archive of the video, unless Katie wants me specifically to take it down. She has been a little vague, and she has not communicated that much with the community directly. She's been a little inconsistent. I'm not saying this to criticize her. I understand why. The community is absolutely insane. There is no denying that the community itself is just crazy. They are crazy. As for the animation I was planning on working on, my life might be a bit too busy for something that ambitious. I'll still occasionally try to work on it. I don't know. I think it would be a good idea to make that parody come true at some point. It is a shame that the video itself has been deleted. I do want to talk about like some other stuff about it, because it has more content in that 4 minutes than a lot of these pilots do in their entire run. I don't want to like be dismissive of anything or something like that, but in terms of just talking about it rather than watching it, like there's like a new pilot that's like 20 minutes long called The Art of Murder, and I can't think of anything to talk about there. It's like, ooh, I can make fun of how obviously on the nose the parody names are. Like, I'm pretty sure the creators know that too. I could make a few jokes about my original character. It's so self-aware that like it's kind of tough to make any astute observations. It's very obvious and not really subtle. It's clear on what it wants to be. It's basically Toy Story but for drawings, right down to the tall sexy man wearing all brown and yellow being the culprit. Spoiler alert. I shouldn't have said that. That was an actual spoiler. I think, well, I pretend you didn't hear that. But yeah, I think it is a shame that the community's never learned their lessons on the internet. And what really sucks about this community in particular is, unfortunately, Katie just was not prepared for it. I mean, there's plenty of indie creators who have big, horrible fandoms. Scott Cawthon, Scott Cawthon does, Toby Fox does, Ninja Muffin. They handle it with varying degrees of tact, and they did it. They did handle their fandoms pretty well, but they still got kind of screwed over by their fandoms. Toby Fox is kind of keeping this mysterious personality while occasionally being supportive has been the best approach, just so he only puts his foot down when it's necessary. Unfortunately, like, even Scott Cawthon, who's very professional, has unfortunately been like strong-armed into essentially being FNAF Twitter's little hound, so they can just harass him with thousands of email spams to fire whoever they want on one hand. Or like Ninja Muffin, he's edgy Newgrounds, and his fandom is just the opposite of everything he was fighting for, and that was a pretty big shame. However, none of them were letting it basically. They wanted a big fandom. The thing is, Katie didn't even want that. She just made a one-off project that was pretty much just for herself and maybe a few people. It's kind of insane how big the fan base got. Gotta attribute it to a certain point to a great animation style, good mystery, and some really good character designs like that, and also a character design aesthetic that makes autistic people's brains tickle. Like, remember when I was a kid, like with Legos, you want to make your Lego version of everything. Oh, they introduced some characters who are like slightly different, but you can tell they're the same species, but they're different colors. You want to make the orange one. You want to make a red one. They only have a purple one. They only have a green one. You want to make a yellow one. Like, stuff like that. Like, it's OC. Just, it drives the appeal of OCs with very different aesthetics while fitting in a consistent theme. That kind of stuff just really draws in the attention of people all the time. People love the consistency but slightly different stuff. But back to the main topic, when it comes to Katie's just story, it is that's the other thing that is a shame, is like, with the community itself, even the people trying to be good are not good. For example, every time anyone mentioned to me or on their Reddit or on Twitter, guess what they were doing? They were pulling the Jane Animations fandom thing. What is the Jane Animations fandom thing? Well, let me tell you. They find out that porn exists, and then they are horrified by this fact. So they make sure everyone in the world knows and sees the porn that they hate so much, and they're like, we gotta stop them. Like, how do you plan to do that, good sir? How do you plan to do that? By showing it to all of us? By giving it attention? No. That is what can kill a fandom. That's what kills a fandom. Just spreading the degeneracy. Degeneracy exists. Just letting it rot in a dark corner somewhere else and just not acknowledging it. That's what you're supposed to do. But these people can't do that. They just can't. And, what about rule number 1 of the internet? Don't feed the trolls. Well, there were lots of trolls who were like 11-year-olds, and I don't know how these people took them seriously. These guys are goofballs. Like, did you see the Baldies fans in the comment section? They're hilarious. But these idiots, they kept giving them attention, and that fueled the fires for them to be like way worse and spiral out of control because they have influence over a bunch of people they shouldn't have influence over. That's why you don't feed them. They grow. The more people you can make shiver me timbers because, oh my god, it's a Baldy fan, watch out, the worse it gets. And they just could not restrain themselves. The Reddit, Twitter, Discord, these kids just were obsessed with focusing on that. And that was just ruining it for everyone because, they were getting what they needed. They were getting what they wanted. And it's just absolutely embarrassing to see, really. It's just kind of sad. That's all I got to say, man. And I think, so I think in terms of handling this, I mean, I'm not gonna criticize Katie too much for it because it was just like she couldn't have predicted that. She couldn't have predicted it getting like 75 million views and like 10 different communities spawning from it with several different sub communities over an OC reanimation of a Baldi's Basic song from like 8 years ago or 6 years ago or something. No one could have predicted that. However, I do think the community and her, like, if we were to do things optimally, if we were to like take this, just look at what Gooseworks does, okay? I think that's the perfect blueprint. For those who don't know, Gooseworks is the creator of the amazing Digital Circus. I followed her since 2015. She is hilarious. She is based, and most importantly, she can handle the bullshit the internet throws at her better than most creators I've seen. She can either roll with the punches, she can prevent issues before they become issues, and when they become issues, well, you can't blame her. That's not her problem. Like, basically, she didn't just make it clear on what she didn't want and what her boundaries were. She also made it clear before it got out of hand that even if someone crosses the line or crosses a boundary, don't send it to me. Don't make it a big deal. Because a lot of, like, that's a subtle thing that Jaden Animations missed. It's like, she didn't want any NSFW of her because, she's not only asexual, but she doesn't want her child-friendly community to be degenerated. So her saying that, Streisand effect, meaning that when you tell people not to do something, they will do it. So, that happened. And then there's like trends for several years, and I still see them pop up occasionally, of people pretending to care by looking up porn of her and then just showcasing it just everywhere. And like on their thumbnail in the video and being like, oh my god, guys, this is so terrible. When I looked up and saved porn of someone to my desktop, I found porn. Like, oh yeah, you're such a hero. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so fucking much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for enlightening me. I really appreciate it. And they also keep ignoring how she's also made it clear that she doesn't want people to vocally complain about it because she knows Streisand effect exists. And I'm not really saying Katie did this. I'm not saying Katie messed anything up. This is more about the fans, them messing up. I think, if Katie were to do this all over again and just to try to make sure everything did go as smoothly as possible, I would have definitely suggested just like kind of ignoring some of the goofier trolls, telling people to not focus and not make a big deal out of. Just don't make a big deal out of the stuff that offends you. Just ignore it, because if you don't ignore it, you're going to feed it and it will grow. And this is what happens when it grows. I also feel really bad because she got 75 million views for a video that was demonetized because Baldi's Basics, that song was claimed by the Living Tombstone. I kind of feel bad there too. But I think that the community should still try to keep this alive. It's going to be a little more awkward because now it's going to be like, the waters are so muddied. Now everything aside from the original is going to be a fanon variation of something that was already a fanon. Like, basically, it's called might as well call it waifu basics. I mean, as degenerate as that sounds, like, I'm sorry. But, like, it is basically just Baldi's Basics, but more violent with, like, tall women. I mean, that's what it is. Like, I'm sorry to rip off the band-aid, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, there goes my back. So I think I'll still keep talking about it, and some of its AUs, and I'll probably try to analyze the original animation as well. But yeah, I should show more appreciation to it for sure. What else should I do? Funny thing is like, I was gonna have an update video. announcing like another break or something, and then like 10 things came in, and now I can talk about all of them. I don't think I'm gonna be editing these too much. I'm sorry, this channel is not the most consistent in terms of quality. Like, some videos are bangers, some are kind of like this one. I'm sorry. I don't think my life can really, I mean, unless this channel somehow becomes a full-time job, which it's not happening at this rate. Like, it's just not happening, man. It's gonna still be inconsistent. But, I want to at least be inconsistent, but still try to leave a positive impact on the world. You feel me? You feel me. Okay. Well, anyways, if you like animation, sub to allocations, and another thing, sub to Katie, because this is not the only thing she's made. I was actually a fan of her before this. I didn't even know she made it for a while, which is the funny thing. I just saw it blowing up everywhere, and I was really confused. And it was tough enough to find through the slop, through the content farms when it exists. But now people are going to think that the content farms are fundamental paper education, which it's funny in that it's just like, it's so ridiculous, but it's mostly just kind of sad because YouTube's just, they don't care. These corporations, they just don't care, man. But the other things she's made, they look gorgeous, and she's still making stories. She might continue fundamental paper education privately. She keeps changing her mind on that, but it's in a downward trajectory. But she's also focusing on like some more Wendigo-esque stuff on her Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever she posts to. She's still pretty mysterious, I gotta admit. I can't believe that Baldi no-diffed Miss Circle in real life, so the power scalers, Baldi power scalers won. Jesus, oh my god. Someone should make a, you know what people are gonna do? They're gonna make like 10 different documentaries on the rise and fall of fundamental paper education. Actually, fuck it. You know what? Fuck it. I'm not letting them beat me to that slopular title. Because guess what? This video, in hindsight, might have not been the most structured documentary in the bunch, but essentially this was the rise and fall of fundamental paper education. So yeah, that's gonna be the title. As cringy as it is, I just want to do it to spite the people who will unironically make the documentary later. JK, love you all. Once again, if you like animation, sub to allocations, and I'll see you at some point in the future. Bye.